Hey, Governor.
Anyway, it was good. Hey, thank you.
Good. I didn't mean to
It's
surprise
you.
Yeah. This was billed as the day when that great old dinosaur over there was finally going to meet its match, and we all want to see it bite the dust. But no, the rocket lives. A lot of people think the country is returning to the 1950s, and today, Brainerd, Minnesota jumped ahead 3 decades, like it or not. Hank Plante, Channel 9 News in Brainerd. How much of this is sour grapes by a Secretary of State who only lasted 18 months and was edged out by this team?
Very important question.
Join us for a morning of country western fun, February 18th at 10, here on KRIV TV, Channel 26.
The afternoon edition of the Channel 9 News with Hank Plante reporting.
Good afternoon. This woman is Marcia Adams, but she's the exact double for First Lady Nancy Reagan. So naturally, we couldn't resist taking her out to fashionable Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills just to watch people's reaction. Of course, our camera helped draw some attention, and so did my questionable imitation of a Secret Service man.
May I shake your hand, Mrs. Reagan? Yeah, pleasure to see you.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Perhaps one of the greatest technological achievements here will come in getting people used to the strange name of Epcot. But we've all gotten used to some strange names before. Just ask the people at Xerox. Mr. President, you think some of the old wounds have healed, sir?
Time heals a lot of things, yes.
Hank Plante in the marina. You can see the fire burning behind him. Hank?
Mac, it's an incredible scene down here. I'm on the Marina Green. Behind me, you see a fire that is devastating blocks in the marina. Of course, this is always the danger in an earthquake, not just the quake itself, but what happens afterwards. The AIDS virus was a quiet, speedy visitor. It has been a devastating 5 years. Nearly 3,000 cases of AIDS have already hit this city. Half those people have died. People have sewn real life into these quilts, teddy bears, photographs, locks of hair, and a lot of love letters. I was amazed at how the kids opened up to you.
I really was amazed too. I really was.
Does that not happen?
This is the first time this has happened like this.
This man is using a placard that we found is registered to 64-year-old Alfred Cox. But so is this man. It seems Mr. Cox was issued 2 placards. Are you Alfred Cox?
No, why?
You have his disabled placard in your window.
Oh, yeah.
Are you using Mr. Cox's placard?
No, I'm not using his placard. Why?
Isn't that what is in your window?
Yeah, but I don't use that. So I gotta go. I'm gonna be late for work.
Frank Fats. It's the restaurant for legislators and lobbyists. It's 1.5 blocks from the Capitol. And yet on any day, you can see your elected officials being driven that 1.5 blocks in a state car. On this day, we caught up with Los Banos Assemblyman Rusty Arias lunching with his staff. This was the 3rd time this day he ordered sergeants to drive him somewhere, according to Capitol logs. One report showed that you were one of the biggest abusers of using sergeant-at-arms, even using them to squire around lady friends around Sacramento.
I don't recall that particular report.
Ironically, just as we finished talking, up pulled his state car. But considering our interview, Arias and company tried to ignore the car and driver. The driver tried to get his attention, until he caught on that this was now a touchy subject. Arias and company would have to walk the 1.5 blocks back to the Capitol, while the sergeant-at-arms pretends he wasn't really here as a chauffeur after all. Why choose this forum, doing local interviews? Are you trying to regain your footing? Have you had it with the Washington Press Corps?
No, I haven't had it with the Washington Press Corps, but I think that I think you're just as legitimate representative of the press as they are.
Take all the time you need.
And
let me tell you, Laura Bush has just walked into the hall, the wife of Governor George W. Bush, to join former President Bush and Barbara Bush, as Texas is about to put this over the top for George W. Bush. Here it is. I need to ask you this question, and I don't mean this disrespectfully. There are people who think you're not bright enough to be president. You've heard this.
I'm sure.
What do you say to those people?
I say go down to Texas.
Do you think that you're paying for the fallout from the Clinton scandal?
No, I don't. The people will make their own judgment.
You are running on a platform that would deny your own daughter and her partner the ability to adopt a child or to be protected in the workplace against discrimination. What do you say to that?
Well, I say that I've got two fine daughters. I love them both. I'm proud of them both, and their private lives are private.
$25,000 check to your campaign changes hands in a bar at the same time when Oracle has a huge contract.
I don't have a clue how that happened.
When you take $1 million from the car dealers and then veto the consumer's car bill of rights, when you take $350,000 from the drug companies and then veto 4 prescription drug bills, you can't connect the dots on that?
Absolutely not.
Judge, let me interrupt you. Over my shoulder, I see the gay members of the crowd breaking out into cheers and applause. So they may have gotten some good news, and someone is running over with the verdict for me right now. I don't know what's going on, but I heard you cheering.
Well, according to the decision, what we read at the beginning is we won. We will have lesbian gay marriage in California.
It's a very forgiving town, but you violated something called the man code.
Yeah.
Having relations with a good friend's wife.
Great friend. Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. And there's nothing I can say. There's no excuse for it. There's no explaining it in a way.
I need to ask you a tough question. There are rumors that you also used cocaine and other substances.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from, and wherever that came from, shame on them.
Not true?
Absolutely laughable. In this case, it's gratuitously erroneous.
There are critics of your administration who think that as far as foreign policy, your administration has been disastrous, from Iraq to the oil-producing nations to Israel and Palestine.
There are always critics, and there will be critics of any administration at any time.
When it comes to Iraq, do you feel any regret or even guilt about what you're leaving for the next president?
Oh, quite the contrary.
Senator Clinton, nice to be with you today. Thanks for joining me.
My pleasure, Hank. Thank you.
My question is, 23 other senators voted against that authorization to go to war. So what did they know that you didn't know?
Well, I think that, what we can go back and look at is, how each of us tried to assess how the authority would be used.
I asked him about his falling fortunes. Senator, without the money and without the polls, how can you continue this?
It wasn't a matter of not having enough money. It was a matter of how it was spent. We'll do fine.
But that begs this question.
You are free to disagree, but if you got a question, I'd be glad to answer it.
My question is, if you can't run a campaign, how can you run the country?
Oh, I can run a campaign, and we ran a fine campaign in 2000.
I got a little press this week for your comment that Congress should shove it down his throat.
Well, actually what I said was, I was being asked, and it was off camera, nothing's off camera, I'm finding out, and I was at a big rally with 3,000 people, and he said, what happens if he vetoes? And I did say, would shove it down his throat.
Really a pleasure to talk to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Hank. I appreciate it.
Good to see you.
It's great to see you, Hank.
So how important is San Francisco and Northern California to you?
How are you guys? You know it. Thank you, guys.
How important are we to you?
Well, listen, San Francisco and Northern California generally has been a mainstay of Democratic strength, and I think any Democratic candidate is going to want to compete here actively.
Mr. Mayor, could I get one question with you?
Go right ahead.
Do you still characterize this as a barroom brawl?
Hank Plante. Stay with the facts.